Assalamualaikum and a very good day to you. My name is Nordanya Betty Yusri, co-program CAAD 2623ASA. Today I will be presenting my infographic titled The Intricacies of Iznik Ceramics Composition Within Islamic Aesthetics. This project focuses on the formal visual analysis of Iznik ceramics. Instead of looking at them only as decorative objects, I examine on how their composition, motifs, colors, and structure reflect important Islamic aesthetic values such as unity, order, abstraction, and spiritual harmony. Now, I will explain how my infographic visually represents my research on Iznik ceramics, focusing on how composition, motifs, and color reflect core Islamic aesthetic values rather than more decoration. To begin, Iznik ceramics are not designed randomly. Their compositions are carefully structured to express spiritual harmony, which is a key principle in Islamic art. As shown in my infographic, elements such as balance, rhythm, and order work together to create a calm and contemplative visual experience. This reflects the Islamic worldview that emphasizes harmony between the physical and the spiritual. Moving into the geometry and grid patterns, my research highlights how Iznik artists relied on geometric grids to organize motifs. These grids guide the placement of floral and vegetal designs, ensuring visual order and unity. This structured approach reflects the Islamic concept of how divine organization, where everything follows an underlying order created by gods. Next, the use of repetition and symmetry is essential in Iznik compositions. As shown in the infographic, repeated motifs create rhythm and continuity, while axial and radial symmetry establish balance. In Islamic aesthetics, repetition symbolizes infinity and timelessness, suggesting the infinite nature of the divine rather than focusing on individual expression. When we look at the motif, such as floral scrolls, tulips, and saz leaves, these are not purely naturalistic. My research explains that they are stylized and abstracted, which aligns with the Islamic principle of avoiding figurative representation. Floral scrolls express growth and vitality. Tulips symbolizes beauty and spirituality within Ottoman culture, and saz leaves introduce movement and dynamic contrast. Together, they convey spiritual meaning through abstraction rather than realism. Color theory also plays a significant role in reinforcing Islamic aesthetics. In my infographic, cobalt blue dominates the composition, symbolizing depth, calmness, and spirituality. Turquoise adds vibrancy and protection, while coral red is used sparingly as an accent to create emphasis. The white ground functions as negative space, enhancing brightness and allowing the motifs to stand out clearly. This carefully colored balance reflects moderation and harmony, which are central Islamic values. Overall, this infographic translates my research into my visual format by showing how Iznik ceramics embody Islamic aesthetics through abstraction, repetition, and balance. Rather than depicting reality, Iznik art invites viewers to contemplate spiritual order, harmony, and the eternal nature of the divine. I'll begin with the visual elements that structure Iznik ceramic designs. One of the most important features is symmetry. Iznik compositions often use axial or radial symmetry, where motifs are mirrored or arranged around a center. This creates balance and allows the viewer's eyes to move smoothly across the surface. Underlying these designs is a strong sense of geometry and grid system. Even though the patterns appear organic, they are carefully planned using geometric frameworks. These grids control the placements of motifs and maintain order. Another key element is repetition. Motifs are repeated rhythmically across the surface, creating visual continuity. This repetition suggests infinity, a common idea in Islamic art. Finally, balance is achieved through equal distribution of motifs and colors. No single area visually dominates the composition, which helps maintain harmony. Moving on to motifs, One of the most recognizable forms is the tulip. In Iznik ceramics, tulips are stylized and elongated. They symbolize beauty, spirituality, and Ottoman identity. Another important motif is the saz leaf. These long curved leaves introduce movement and energy into the composition. Their sharp form contrasts with softer floral shapes. And lastly is floral scrolls. It is made up by intertwining vines and blossoms. They create continuous motion and symbolize growth, vitality, and harmony in nature. Next, I'll explain the color theory used in Iznik ceramics. Cobalt blue is the dominant color. It conveys calmness, depth, and spirituality, and often forms the visual foundation of the design. Turquoise adds freshness and vibrancy. It is commonly associated with serenity and protection, enhancing the spiritual quality of the composition. Next is coral red. It is used as a bold accent color. It creates strong contrast and draws attention to key motifs, adding visual energy. The white background functions as negative space. It allows motifs to stand out clearly and prevents visual overcrowding. Together, these colors work in harmony, reinforcing balance and clarity. Now, this brings me to the Islamic aesthetic values reflected in Iznik ceramics. The idea of order is reflected in the structured geometry and balanced layouts, symbolizing divine organization. Abstraction is emphasized through non-figurative forms, shifting focus from literal representation to spiritual meaning. Through repetition and continuous patterns, Iznik designs also suggest infinity, symbolizing the eternal nature of the divine. All these principles combine to create spiritual harmony, inviting contemplation and visual calm. In conclusion, Iznik ceramics demonstrate how formal visual elements can express deeper Islamic values. Through symmetry, geometry, motifs, and color, these designs embody unity, order, abstraction, and spiritual harmony. This infographic visually breaks down those compositional principles and shows how Iznik ceramics function as both aesthetic and symbolic works of Islamic art. That is all from me. Thank you for watching.